Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about basically things like this shape. So the key point is you've got a 4-4 stone, you've got an approach stone, and you play the 3-3. And I'll look at it at sort of positions like this, with where black's extended on the side, or so if you played a pincer, and basically various variations on the theme. It's a sort of a shape that happens quite a lot. Well, the first one that I think I'll look at is let's have a look at the pincer. So against this pincer, kind of the most common continuation for white is to jump into the corner, and then the Joseki goes like this, and I expect most people probably know this one, I imagine. Is anyone not familiar with this Joseki? I'll take that as a no. So just a few things. Of course, there's other moves you can do as well, like you can jump out here, or you can double approach, or do sort of things like this. There's all sorts of other choices. But basically, the 3-3 point is kind of the most common, and it's kind of the default one. If you know you don't have any particularly good reason to do anything else, then just take the 3-3. Something that you sort of tend to see quite a lot more in amateur games than in professional games is the jumping out move here. This is sort of, it's a Joseki, but it's a bit more of a, you know, you only really want to do it if it's some particular reason why you want to do it. Because just in terms of territory, it's not very good. You get a wall, but if the wall's, you know, not particularly great, then you give up quite a lot of territory. So, well, the first thing to say when you take the 3-3 is you're prepared to sacrifice the F3 stone, because black can go and cut it off. Now, of course, there's the other choice of blocking here, which you might want to do if you've already got a stone around here, which makes your wall useful. If you haven't got a stone around that position, then you don't want to block this way. So you can block it off. And one of the things that I'll be looking at in this kind of position is sometimes white plays here, and sometimes white plays here. I'm not necessarily with the H3 stone, but just generally in this corner invasion shape of this position. I'll be looking at why you sometimes push at C4 and you sometimes play the Hane at D2. So white pushes, and one sort of common thing that you sort of seem to see loads around 15Q or something is this Hane here. Now this is an overplay, and there's sort of various ways to deal with it. Let's just look at the normal sequence first. So the normal one is to extend. Then white would like to be able to sort of jump ahead, but if he jumps ahead straight away, black can push and cut, and now if white captures the stone, black can get the stone outside in a ladder, or even if there's not a ladder, he can extend, and it looks a bit sad. And if white connects this side, then black can just go and capture the two stones in the corner. That's no good. So that's the meaning of this D2 move. Now black has to connect to keep F3 cut, and then now white can safely jump, because if you push through like this cut, you can just capture it, because black can't capture the cornerstones. And just here, you've got enough liberties now just to block here, and that's just dead. Something else to notice about the D2 move is it makes black connect with an empty triangle and some bad shape here. If we took away these stones, if it was black to play now, black would connect by making the nice hanging connection shape here, which has got good eye potential. And also it's slightly better for Yosei, because if white blocks here, it's Gosei now for endgame. Whereas here, if white's going to play endgame, this is white Sente. But of course there's other options as well, you don't necessarily want to play that. So white's made black connect in some bad shape at E3, and then can now safely jump ahead. So white's initial approach stone has been lost for now, but it's still got quite a lot of agi, and it can still be quite annoying. So for example, later on, white can play things like this, and if black, goes on top, white can connect. And if black cuts it off, then white can sort of try and do some shenanigans on the lower side, particularly if white's already got a stone at K3. So probably white won't play F2 without support, but white can kind of play K3, and if black doesn't answer, then white can now play F2 with some serious attitude and start doing some funny business and annoying black. And potentially this black group could even become a weak group, because if white's F3 stone lives, then black's group doesn't necessarily have any eye space. So this can be quite annoying later. So that kind of explains the basic sequence. I think I did a previous lecture actually about kind of things black can do afterwards. So sort of black has moves like this move is quite nice as one you can do afterwards, and there's sort of other choices like here, or all sorts of things, or here, or all sorts of other stuff. But that's the basic sequence. Against a pincer, take the corner. And the thing about this sequence is it's kind of the same. Basically, whatever pincer you do, you can just do this. If it's this pincer, you can just still do this, and it's exactly the same. In terms of white's moves are the same. Black's stuff on the outside is now slightly different. And you can do this with the pincer being 1 space high, 1 space low, 2 space high, 2 space low, 3 space low, and 3 space high. They're all the same sequence in the corner. Anyone follow that so far? Any questions? If you've got questions, feel free just to interrupt and ask you. Okay, yeah, let's go back to that one then. So there's sort of several answers to this. The one that I first learned was that white would quite like to cut. But if you cut straight away, black can play this Hane here, which is a very strong move, because by playing this Hane, white can't capture going this way now, because black will just go and capture white. So this actually, if white cuts straight away, black C2 is a very strong move, and white's in a bit of trouble now. So what white can do, white plays C2. Oh, sorry, I'm doing this with J3 stone. Let's do it with the H3 stone, then it's clearer. So if you C2 first to get yourself Yes, I know the answer. I'm doing a lesson about why other moves aren't so good. So, if you play C2 and black blocks, that's a good point, yes. He can't hear that either. Well, I'll just carry on. So if black blocks, white can now cut. And basically either the 1 stone or the 3 stones are going to be in trouble, because if black saves that stone, white can go here, and if black tries to connect underneath, white goes here, and black's just dead. So that's no good. Boom, boom, boom. And if black goes and, for example, he can sort of save these stones, But then if we compare this to the Joseki result, this is way worse because white's captured C5 and poking out a lot. Yeah, so yes, at this point basically, if black blocks, he ends in disaster. So he could at this point compromise and go here versus E2. Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I don't know the answer. I might have to try and work it out or something. If white then connects underneath, and then black can play some extension over here, and kind of, this is a bit good for white, and of course it would depend globally on the position, because generally if black's played the pincer, the idea of the pincer is it's saying that this area is the important area, not the left-hand side. And so black can kind of play that compromise sequence, but he ends up getting the side which his initial pincer said was not the important bit. So if you wanted to play over that side, then you would probably do better just to, you know, play here now or something. So yeah, one of the questions I saw was what's the answer to this? And for that, yeah, that puzzled me a bit when I first learnt the C2 answer, because if you block, then it can get a bit funny. Well, you can do this and you can connect, but you've got worse shape than the previous result, because if you can imagine if you did this, then now if black goes here, you're probably going to go and cut him off instead of let him force you down to connecting on the first line. So I think probably you could play this, might be okay, because then if black connects, it actually ends up reverting to what I've since heard is kind of the better punishment than C2, which is just playing D2. You do this, black's got to connect. And now, if you don't know a good, clever move, then you could just go play here and it's a bit rubbish, and this is good for black because white's lower than the normal sequence. But white has a tesuji here of this clamp. So if the point is, if black connects, white can come underneath. And now, if we compare to Joseki, black's just made this push, which is a really bad Ajikeshi move. One reason it reduces black's liberties of his wall, but the other reason is it loses lots of other good moves you have in this position. So going back to this, if we play the right stuff, I mentioned, for example, this move can very often be a really nice move for blacks to try to develop the left-hand side, because you're aiming at, for example, this move and coming in underneath. But if black's gone and played this stupid pushing move, then you can't do that B5 move anymore. So this punishment result doesn't end with black kind of dying or anything disastrous, but it's just made black play this bad Ajikeshi move, which you might think is not a big deal, and you know, against most sort of amateurs it's not going to lose you the game or anything, but it is quite significant to lose all the other options of doing things interesting like C8. That's quite a big loss. Another thing you can do if you're totally crazy is, this C5 is a mistake, but Shochikun 9-dan professionals played it a few times just because he's a bit of a nutter really, and he likes to play moves that everyone thinks are bad and asks you to prove them as they're bad. And in the games he played this, he actually lost, so his opponents did prove that they were bad. But his opponent ended up cutting, and it just turned into one absolutely diabolically massive fight. And sort of went like this, and what happened next? Some sort of do this. And this just turned into one big mess. So yeah, against E2, I reckon this move might actually just be, because also black can, like, if black does this, then the cut's probably got a bit more attitude, where you can still do the clamp. Okay. So that's why extending is the sort of the right move. So there was also, let's also just have a look at, for example, why playing this first isn't so good. If you play this, then now you can't jump ahead because black goes and cuts, and you haven't got enough liberties in the corner for this. This works for black, where this sequence didn't work for black before, so you can't really do the high nine connect and then jump like here. You could jump like this, but this is rather low and not very, not so much points as being able to jump on the third line, so black can push you down low, and black's building up a nice big wall here. So that's why you don't want to play D2 directly in this position. But there will be some other situations to look at later where you do want to play D2 instead of the push here. So whilst you're on this this shape, I thought I'd just mention a few things about. The main thing I'm sort of focusing on is sort of white's moves in the corner with this stuff. But just looking at black's stuff on the outside, in this position, there's black usually takes sente, because like he could go and totally kill f3 here, but it's rather slow and a bit too small. He'll generally go and take sente and do something useful. If the black stone is a two-space pincer, if you kind of look in the Joseki books from, I don't know, 20 years ago or no. If you look in the Joseki books from 20 years ago, the there we go. This two-space pincer is kind of in the this isn't Joseki, don't do this, it's a naughty move category. But actually it's very popular again now. So the reason why this was considered not such a good move was because if black spends a move to fix, then it's a little bit slow, because just let's do the same Joseki on the other side of the board. Let's try and make it the same colours as well. If you do the three-space pincer, then spending a move to fix here now is quite reasonable, and K17 is a decent distance away, whereas on the lower side it's a little bit too close. You sort of, if you're going to spend a move to fix, then you'd rather extend a bit further. So it's a bit slow to fix, but if you don't fix, it's a bit annoying too. If you're going to play somewhere else, white can go and play something like this, and it's rather annoying. Like, you could have some kind of ko here, and the point is, like, if white sort of wins this ko, then the black wall here ends up being maybe weak or dead or something, which is rather annoying. And you could also have things like this, white push here, sort of things like this, and basically white can, because it was a bit more space, white can quite easily plonk a group in the middle here and end up this black wall here can sort of, you know, get attacked. I mean, white's being attacked too, but black's being attacked too, so it's sort of an invasion with attitude if you can play this kind of way. So it's kind of, black doesn't really like that generally, but when white plays this kind of stuff, white basically might sort of play moves here which strengthen black in this position. So you see this pincer very popular again in this opening. It's really popular here, because if white goes and takes the corner, and then let's just go and plonk down some random Joseki here. If white starts doing this kind of stuff, yes, the stones above are kind of weak, but black doesn't mind, because by playing these moves against the pincer stone, white develops a very big area for black. So the kind of so you can play the R11 pincer if the problem of it being that white can get a group in at R12, if that problem ends up actually helping you to build a big Moyo territory thing, you don't mind it happening. So kind of here it's okay. It wouldn't be so good if kind of black already had a move here or something, because then if white goes and does this kind of stuff, it kind of makes the Q8 zone a bit wasted, because kind of he's got a brilliant wall above, so it doesn't really even need a move there. So the prerequisite for playing R11 is that you have a black position over this side with a big gap between it, so that if you get a wall, it's a really nice wall that works really well. That makes sense? Cool. Yeah, and the reason why they kind of like R11 here is that if white does this shoulder hit, this is quite a nice move to reduce this Moyo, and you could have, I don't know, things like this. And the point is, if you've got R11, if it's like the older move would have been this pincer, and then you can go and do this kind of stuff all over again, blah 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 blah. Let's just randomly do some Gote Joseki. Then now, if you do this kind of thing, compared to before, black's territory is one line smaller here. So that's why the R11 pincer is very popular now, because it means if white does the shoulder hit stuff, you get an extra line of territory. Okay. So that's some sort of stuff about the sort of the difference with the various pincers, and there's also the high pincers as well, and that kind of all. There's other sort of choices, but basically one choice is always just take the corner and go and play this stuff. And the sort of the chief difference with the pincers is then what white can do with the F2 agitator, so the F3 agitator, and whether black spends a move or not, and that kind of thing. So that's taking the corner when you've got pincered, and the key thing to notice is that white gets to make a fairly decent, not sealed in group with, you know, I don't know, 10 points of territory or something maybe. But one very important thing to notice is that it is Gote for white. So if I just go to this opening, so if you notice there's the R4 stone. So if black goes and takes the corner in this opening, this is a little bit of a mistake for black, because white gets sensei. Like this kind of Joseki, I actually kind of prefer black generally, because black's got some points and is alive, whereas although white's got a wall, it's a wall that can all too often die and be weak, which is somewhat annoying. because of the F3 stones got an awful lot of agi. If you kind of use it well, then you can use it as an asset and it becomes quite a lot of points and it's all quite useful and good for attacking. But if you're not careful, your wall gets weak, and a weak wall means you've got a weak group and your opponent got the corner, which is a bit sad. Yeah, and white had the first move. I mean, white's got sensei here. So in fact, that is my voice, yes, I'm English. So I don't speak with a funny accent. Well, I do speak with a funny accent, depending where you're from. It's one thing to notice with the kind of white not being... Yeah, so I was just going to say, the idea of this wall being weak, one move that, forgetting about the R4 stone, is this L3 move is kind of, it's a very steady territory-based move that Li Chang-ho really popularised. Because if you've got this move, then basically it's sort of your wall you're making some territory with your wall, but you're making it safe and you're making the F3 stone not such a problem. And this sort of Li Chang-ho really popularised this because basically this just stops there being any sort of fighting. It just makes some territory and then he just goes and wins in the end game. But yes, in this position, white gets sensei and can approach here, which is even better. And white gets a slight advantage with this approach because this works very nicely as an approach against the corner and sort of extending and developing the lower side. So if we were to just change it around, very young, I'm 20 something. If it was like here, then this is a perfectly even result because white can approach the corner, but it's not also extending from the group on the lower side. So this is just a perfectly even result, and it's, you know, no big deal. Whereas if it's this way round, this approach is rather nice. So because of this Joseki is Gote, a better idea for black is because he doesn't want to get Gote and let white get the excellent P3, he can make a Shimari himself. So now black's kind of white might play here to split the side because, well, white can also do something else, like for example, seeing as black didn't help his F3, white can do something over here, and then black can play here, and it's kind of roughly equal. This kind of position, it would sort of end up probably being quite a big Moyo game. White would probably not want black to get Q10 because it's a rather nice point, so white will play some splitting move here, or maybe an approach, but let's just play R10, that's nice and simple. Now, black can go and play this, because he's in Sensei, stopped white from now being able to approach with P3. So white doesn't get the excellent P3 now, so white can go and play some other opening move, probably approaching here looks fairly sensible. So, it's this, you've got to remember this Joseki's Gote, and this move first, to kind of prepare C3, is a very nice opening idea. Okay. Next. Okay, yeah. So this is now just sort of focusing on the corner rather than the whole board position again. This whole thing is talking about playing the 3-3 point. Why not P3 before F3? You can if you want to, perfectly fine. This is another way of playing. White might go here, white might go here, all sorts of things. Something I would say is basically this pincer. I've not really actually heard this from sort of any super strong person, but locally speaking, I think this result is good for black. Now I know it's a Joseki and all that, blah blah blah, But in terms of territory, this is good for black, because black has some territory and white doesn't have any territory. So when white plays, so in this kind of position, white could play this move, which is the more territory-oriented move. But by playing this, it allows black to develop the lower side, for example, by playing a mini Chinese kind of thing like this. Now, there's nothing at all wrong with this. It's perfectly fine. White can, white doesn't need to necessarily be scared of black. But the idea of playing the pincer is it's trying to stop black from building something nice, from building some big potential or moyari thing. But I'm not saying it's not a bad move. It's not a bad move. It's a perfectly wonderful move. But basically, white, by playing this move, white has lost some territory, and therefore, so it's quite nice to get f3 in first, and then say, aha, I've made you lose some territory, I'll go and play my Shimari, and Shimari is never a bad move, and then you can play r10, that's fine. And then you go and play your territory move. So black's kind of, by playing the approach first, black's potentially got white to play the, I want to stop you building something nice, but in order to do so I have to play a move which is a little bit not so great for territory. So that's kind of the feeling with the approach first. But of course, they're both wonderful. You get a similar thing with like if you have this kind of Kobayashi opening. And lots of people like to play like this as black. Now, and lots of people as white don't like to play this because they think, oh, black's building this wonderful thing. If you play the 3-3. Oh. Saying this. So what are we saying? You're saying you might do this kind of thing. I still don't really like h3 just sitting there seeming a bit silly. I mean, h3 is not dead. I mean, you can kind of play this to link up to it if you really want to, or just this. I mean, if black runs out, there is a slight shape problem here in that you have this kind of thing coming through. But I mean, black could potentially play like something here, and then if you go and link up, then black's got K3 and Sente, which is quite nice. I mean, it's not a disaster, but I think I prefer black because all of black stones look sensible, whereas h3 looks a bit funny. And also black might not play the c2. Black might play this thing. It doesn't really give you the chance to switch. It just makes you play a bad push or get into some big horrendous fight. Okay. So that's sort of covered the pincers. So the next thing is when white, I don't know if there's a word for these, sort of extension-y mirror moves on the not pincer side. Yeah, it's not often going to be good. I mean, if there's other stones around doing something, then maybe it could be. I mean, you've got to be careful of rejecting something which is bad on an open board because it might be good in some situation, but I think it's got to be quite rare that will be a good move. So with this kind of position, diving into the corner immediately, on this kind of board you wouldn't really want to do it. It's rather greedy and territory based because the key point here is if, so white cuts you off. Now, if you push, it's really bad shape because white can harness, and thanks to this stone, the cut's defended, so white can block, and you can go and make yourself a dinky little L+2 group, but this is way worse than before because you're entirely surrounded in the corner. And you've got a similar thing like here, white can block, thanks to the C6 stone. So I mean, on this kind of, if it's an opening, you know, you'd play, maybe you might play this Joseki, or you might play funny mini Chinese, or well, if you've got a 4/4 stone, then this kind of looks rather nice. But let's just forget about the opening and look at invading the corner straight away. So the key point about having the F3 stone is that this Hane and connection is your sensei. And then once you've got that Hane and connection in sensei, now you don't want to push here because then white can block. But you can slide here. Now, before, when I looked at this slide, I said this is all kind of small and rubbish. And the point is, like, this kind of invasion is kind of small and rubbish in the opening, but later on in the game, it might happen. And the key point is, if we have a look at, it's probably kind of obvious, but I'm just making it clear. If you kind of invade at the 3/3 point with just a knight's move, then this is a ko like this. And if you just block here, you're locally dead because you haven't got the F3 stone making this sensei. This is now Gotei, and white can go and kill you. Now, it's a little bit of bad agi because, you know, there's a cut here or maybe a clamp, and maybe you can live by falling on the second line forever or something a bit rubbish like that. But it's all a bit small and rubbish. So that's why, that's the significance of the F3 stone. It means if you do take the corner, you can get the Hane and connecting sensei. But of course, in doing so, you damage the F3 stone. And then when you play here, you can go and make yourself a little group in the corner. And I won't go over the life and death problem, but this position is not currently alive. Black needs to spend a move to live. So there are some other interesting things you can do. So for example, if you go here, if white goes here, now you need to still spend a move to live. But if white harness, which is sort of better to take the liberties of those stones, then it means that you've got this move that is your sensei, and this means that you're actually already alive in the corner. No, that's wrong. No, you shouldn't always cut here for agi. Sometimes, but I've had positions where I've done this cut and reviewed by Grosjean, and she said, nah, it's cut. But yeah, I mean, the point is that there is some cutting agi here, and yeah, I mean, depending on what's going on there, maybe you do cut, but it's not always cut. You have a similar thing with this. And again, you can play this slide. And sometimes, if white doesn't, if the left side is not important, white might not bother blocking here. White could go here or some whatever other move, or just take sensei or whatever. But if white goes and takes sensei somewhere, black can come in here, which is quite big. And if white can seal black in, that's quite nice. So again, white does this. So the key point here is before, this liberty was not free. This corner, because the liberty is free, is already alive. And I can't remember the details, but if you just kind of remember, if this corner's alive with the liberty, but it's not alive without the liberty, or one of them might be a ko, or, well, it's definitely dead without the liberty. Maybe this is only a ko rather than a kill, but anyway. But of course, in this kind of position, black would quite like to do something like, for example, he'd quite like to push to make some cuts, because then black could get this, I don't know which order, let's say this one. If black can get all of these moves, then, although f3's been damaged, it's at least got a few more liberties now. And because white played the f1 move, black's already alive in the corner, so potentially black could cut and make some ginormous fighty messy thing. Or black might just, you know, play whatever move here to help these stones, and white goes and fixes the cut somehow because black's already alive in the corner. And if white wants to make black spend a move to live, have to go here, but then the outside stones have more liberties. So now maybe you could cut first and make a bit of a mess in Sensei and then live in the corner. You know, there's some fighting that could happen. Or you could just live and white fixes, however white fixes. Various ways of doing it. So that's the kind of things you have here. Now I've got some examples in a minute. There's one other thing to mention here, that's particularly with the d6 stone being high, is you can play this move, and it might look like you're going for a ko, but actually when white plays Atari you just connect. And the point of this is that white then connects. Now instead of jumping just to here, you can jump all the way to here, which previously wouldn't have worked if we just look at. So this doesn't work now because white can, for example, white do, I guess just this. Oops. That just seems to go and capture the corner. You know, there's a gap here, but that doesn't look like too big a deal, does it? So you can't do this with the C2 stone. And when you've got B2, then now if you try and do this kind of thing, that doesn't work anymore. So this B2 stone allows you to jump further, but it does have a big downside as well, in that before, this black move was Sensei for the E1 connection underneath, but because white's already got D1 here, you're not threatening to connect underneath. So it means that this move is now Gote instead of Sensei. So it means you get to go further on the left-hand side, but it means the F3 stone's got much less agi left in it. So it's got some pros and cons. Now, in fact, its cons are also, there's another con as well, which is if you had this jump, and let's just pretend we've got the B2 move, as your next move, you can jump out here safely, and this is quite big to get some more territory, reduce white's territory, and all that kind of stuff. Whereas when you've got this move, because of the weakness, white can't cut the weakness yet, but it does mean if you try to run away further, for example here, now white can go and cut you, and you're in some trouble. And you might think, oh, let's try to run like this, but you've still got trouble, because you've got this cut. So although you get to jump further, it's thin, and it means that you can't run in, your next move can't run very far. You could run here, but that's a bit slow and rubbish. Now you can play things like this peep, and if white connects, then now you can run safer. But by making the peep, you've also strengthened white a little bit. And, you know, maybe you want to, but you can't simply run, you have to help white if you want to run. And there's also, you can do things like this, for example. White might just extend, and now you can run here safely, but you've strengthened white, so it's sort of got a cost if you want to run in safely. Okay. Oh yeah, one. I guess I'll do this yet before we can. So one other choice that you can have in this position is I played this block here, which cuts off the F3 stone, but it means that black gets to live inside the corner. Now, another choice white can have in this position is to play here. So the idea of this move is that it lets black connect up to the F3 stone, and this is the most common continuation, but it means that white gets to keep this area. So if this area is important and cutting off F3 is not important, white might choose this way. This kind of thing is particularly, let's just put a few more stones on the board to make it a bit more realistic. So let's just say we've got something like this. Let's just put another stone here, another stone here. So because white's got a stone at C10, white's trying to make some territory on the left. So if, and the other key point is I've got black stone at J3 and O3, so white can't make any big territory on the lower side. So if this happens, black gets to spoil the territory on the left side that C3 was trying, that C10 was trying to make. So this move's rather annoying for white to undermine C10, and white can't really, white can probably do something mean to this stone, but can white attack all of these stones? I mean, it looks like white's in more trouble than black. So because the lower side's not so interesting as potential for white, white wanted the left side, white kind of, where he was trying to make territory has been spoiled like this. So in this kind of position, it's probably a good idea for white to play like this, and keep the left side and let black to connect up, because black was kind of already quite strong there. And white also gets sente here, so that's quite nice. Okay, so that's the main kind of choices I think I was going to go through with this. So unless anyone's got any questions, I'll go on to some example games. Okay. Games. This game. Okay. So in this game, which is me, I was white. Black played, as I've said before, he took the corner without playing P3 first, which meant I got to make the nice P3 move. Black, I don't know, he's some guy called Elin, 5 down on OGS, or 4 down now. He's quite a decent player. Some Chinese. I'm playing quite a lot of games against him and I'm losing some other ones. But this game I won quite easily. So we've had our Jizeki at the lower left. We unfortunately can't do this thing on the lower right because it's a 3-4 point. Black then went and got himself the corner. So then I approached over here and made some top thing. and then black approached. Now white has quite a lot of choices of what to do here. White could, for example, pincer, and then black might take the corner and go like this, and white builds a mile on the top side. Black then probably invades here, and I didn't want to play this because basically black's got 3.5 corners now, and white's got kind of 2 sides, but generally if you have 2 sides, two big sides with gaps in, and your opponent has 4 corners, it's quite a hard game for you. So I didn't do that, I played here. Now, I expected maybe black to play, well, the first thing is if black plays just this Joseki, it's rather low on the left hand side, because these are both low stones, which doesn't seem very nice. But maybe black could play here. Also, actually, I was planning to play some exciting weird things like this to try to build some central power. But because he wanted to make a lesson for this game, black invaded at 3-3 straight away. So I don't think it's an oops. It surprised me a bit. I don't think it's a bad move though. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's quite, I think it's quite a greedy move. It's kind of saying, I want all the territory. He's already got the bottom 2 corners, now he wants some more territory. So, most of his games he seems to like points. I like points too, but I'm trying to not like points so much, so sometimes I'll play a different sort of style. Something just to say, I guess most people will have seen this, but you do occasionally see this mistake. Even if you want to block here, you really must push down. I've occasionally seen this kind of thing, because you go, oh, I want the top, but this is just really awful, because now D15 is such a huge shape point that if you don't play it, you feel sad, but if you do play it, well, black's got more, even if black just connects, black's got a much bigger corner and much thicker and stronger than compared to this kind of thing. If F16 didn't exist. Didn't exist at all, so we're saying, was it a pincer or just somewhere totally else? Okay, let's just randomly go somewhere else. Then yes, you do sometimes see approach a corner Tanuki. The most common thing is then to play a double approach, but you can also just take the corner, and there will be an example of this in another game in a minute. In this position, I don't think there's a rule that one's wrong and one's right. I think you might play this one, because the point is now if this kind of thing happens, you're not going to play a move here, you'll probably keep building your wall, because you won't, so this would be okay. Black's got a nice big corner and white's got a wall that's not quite a thick wall, but it's at least a wall and you haven't played F16, which is a bit silly. You could cut, it depends how much value there is in cutting off the C14 stone. Probably this kind of thing happens, and maybe black keeps pushing, I don't know, or maybe black plays this kind of Joseki sequence when you haven't got a pincer, and now white goes, do I go here, or do I go somewhere else, or what do I do? I don't know. And the key reason why you can push is that if black pushes here and you Hane, you can get in some trouble with the cut or the stuff. The key thing is here, if black pushes, you don't have any fear at all. You can just block. You're fine. And then you can do whatever. So that's why you can push. And of course, once you've pushed, not only does black have less points, but for example, if the white group needs to make eyes, you can block out some eyes going like this and build an eye at D15. And there's all sorts of other, there's all sorts of agi here and just attaching here. There's lots more interesting things to do, as well as black having not quite so many points. So, black played Hane. So if white wants Sente, white can go like this. But I thought this was a bit rubbish, because although I'm kind of developing the top side, black's got the corner, c14 is alive now, and maybe I'd jump here, because there's the m17. If I don't play anything over here, let's just randomly plonk a stone somewhere else. Black's invasion here is quite annoying, because if he goes and lives here, I was trying to make points on the top with d17, but you know, if this kind of thing happens, and black, I don't know, there's some sort of lives inside here, it would be somewhat annoying, because I tried to make points. I gave up points in the corner in order to make stuff on the top, and black just went and lived in it. It'd be a bit of rubbish. So at least I would get Sente, and I could play here, and this, yeah, I mean, this it looks okay, but black's just getting all these points, and I didn't want this to happen. Another thing to consider is, say black played here, and I went for this kind of middle funky move. One example sequence could go like this, and then black goes to the corner, and white might block, or white might, for example, fix here to make some thickness in the centre. And the point is, black's defended in the corner, and white, you know, black can slide here or here later on, but white's kind of given up the top point for the moment, and is not going to play at d17. Whereas if you play this, you can kind of see that, well, just this exchange kind of doesn't mean terribly much. And this exchange doesn't really, you can kind of take that exchange away. But it's now like when black pushed, you blocked. So if white now goes and does this kind of stuff, the same sequence we had before, instead of playing here for the thickness or the tanuki or whatever else, white's played the block in the corner. So white's kind of committed to blocking the territory at the top, which maybe he didn't want to do anyway, because maybe he was going to go and make some influencey Middle East stuff. So when you play d17, you've kind of it's like black's played here, you've tanukied and done whatever else, and then when black's gone here, you've blocked. And that c17 for d17 is generally a good exchange for black, because black's got the eyes in the corner in Sente. Generally, if black does that, you will have tanukied to something useful, and then you'll go and do something useful somewhere else. You know, just put something real on the board. If black goes here, you probably tanuki and build your moyo or something. You're not going to block, because it's a bit annoying to give black the corner in Sente. So I didn't block there, I blocked here. Black played this hanging connection thing, which allows him to then jump along to f18. So he's kind of undermines the top, so basically I can't make points on the top so easily. You know, if I really want to make points on the top, I could play this, and this, and this, but it's got some bad shape here. You know, there's a clamp, or there's a cut, or a keep. There's still a big old gap here, compared to this kind of shape. Here, the top's a lot better for white. It's a few points bigger, and it's got a nice strong wall. Whereas here, it's a few points smaller, and it's got a big cut in it. Now, the plus, of course, with this thing, I've got this stone, which means that the C14 stone's not got so much agi. Well, it's not all bad, but basically, if black does slide at f18, you have to kind of give up for now any idea of making points on the top, because if you do, black's improved on the other sequence, so you have to go and do something else instead. You know, in the early endgame or something, maybe you block off the top or something, but it's not really something you want to do now. here's that C8 move I was talking about as a follow-up against this corner. So you can kind of see that I've given up the top side, but I've got a wall here, and so by playing C8, I'm going to try to develop this lot here and build some points here and make C14 be dead. Because something to note is when black's got the corner, although C14 can't play here, you know, if black plays here, it's a weak group, but white's wall here doesn't actually have any eyes either, so white can, you know, attack black or whatever, but the white group's kind of not alive. Quite often in this kind of position, if black was sort of strong around, white might go here, which is very nice and solid, but it's a little bit slow. So I'm trying to make this group safe and strong by capturing C14 in a big scale by using the C8 move against the corner. So, black came there, black came out. And then black made a big mistake. The normal thing to do here is this Hane, and then you can go here, and maybe there's various choices that you can do things like that. Or you can do things like pushing here again, and then you can play my favourite move, an empty triangle. All sorts of choices. But anyway, black didn't do those. Black played here, which allows me to cut. Now, but white can cut against this one, but it's a much less good shape cut. For example, black can go here. Now, white does have a strategy that white can push through here, because if black blocks, white can go like this and capture some corner stuff. But black gets to capture a Tanuki, and even if the corner's dead, you know, maybe black can play moves like this and force white to kill it, and black got Tanuki. So maybe white can do this, but maybe white doesn't. So white probably connects, and then black can go and to make himself safe. And white might do, I don't know, this or something. But the point is, black's cutting group's in sort of reasonable shape, and white's groups are a bit small on the sides, and particularly this group's not particularly wonderful. But black went here, so now I can cut this way, which is a lot better. And then run away. So you can kind of see here, it's quite nice to get those two stones, it makes the lower side develop. And then black saved his cutting group. So you can see the left side, white sort of made the left territory here. Black played G9, which is a nice shape point to run away. White runs, well, not white runs away, white sort of keeps the pressure up and builds the side. Now I expected black to jump here, that kind of seemed like the only move to me. And then, you know, probably I jump here, and then maybe black jumps again, or maybe he just takes sente and plays a big move and says, yeah, I'm alive, you can't kill me, or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, so the thing I was saying about the top, because this group was thin, I don't quite know why black plays here. I think what he probably thought was that I would answer here, and he kind of strengthens me, but then he helps his middle group, or he plays whatever move which kind of helps his middle group and reduces the power of G16. But I thought that was not a wonderful move, and I'd play J9 because that seemed like a lovely point because it pressures the black group and grows the lower side. Now it did mean I didn't help F16, So black goes and hurts it a bit, but I can play this counter Hane, and black can capture one stone, but I'd play like this, sacrifice it, and the middle group's in quite a lot of trouble now. So black helped the middle group. And then I built the lower side a bit more. And then black said, I'll play some endgame, mid-center. And then he went and captured this stone. So I gave it up. And jumped here. So now we're getting on to the next 3-3, namely R17. So if you've got just the O17 stone and you've invaded R17, you know, you can do it. But if you've got the jump at O15 as well, then it means that when you invade at R17, it's a lot more powerful, and it can even end up being sort of attacking black. So a sensible move for black would be to defend the corner like this. Makes quite a lot of points, and it also means later on, white might play here or whatever to build the middle, is that at the minimum black can play some Yose like this, and maybe black could even play an invasion, something like this, because if white blocks it off, black's got this kind of connection. But black invaded here, which was quite annoying, and I made a mistake by going here. I should go on top. But let's just fast forward. Yeah. So basically, in this shape, Hane on top is generally the right move. So it's using the O15 stone. So for example, you know, if black just goes here, white can keep him sealed in. If the O15 stone wasn't there, you know, black extension here would escape, but white's trapped him. And something else to note here is that look how the H16 stone has ended up in just the right place to defend my cut. So black's in a bit of trouble here. And black might not die, but at the minimum white will be connected and strong all around. There's sort of other things you could try a counter Hane or something, but probably white could at a minimum just connect underneath. I'll probably go like this, looks strongest maybe, I don't know. This peep would be a nice idea if it connects. You could get some kind of co-shape going on here. But white might not connect and just play Atari here. And this kind of thing looks okay, maybe. I just basically assumed that black would play this middle game Joseki of extending here, and then I'd play here and capture it and all be safe. But this was just a bit stupid because black can play here, which is a much better move, and capture K16, which is quite big. So here he could play like this and then capture me and then save his stones, and my 3 stones are pretty much dead. But maybe they're not totally dead. I thought they'd be dead, but maybe they're not totally dead. So although I lost K16, I got this Atari on the outside. And so now basically I played O15, and rather than defending the corner, black invaded and he ended up capturing this stone, which was a bit annoying. But at least I've got Sente now. So now I can play my R17 invasion. And here I've not just got this stone, I've got this stone plus a great big old wally thickness stuff. So this invasion is being a lot more powerful. So black pushed down. Now I wonder... Yeah, I think you still got to push down. I don't know. This might be a position where this is actually okay. Because although this is a shape point, it's kind of... Yeah, kind of if the point is if black plays here, and white plays the shape point, it feels rather slow and ridiculous because white's already got 15 stones in this area. So actually in this position this block might not be so bad, but this one's okay too. But rather than just playing this, something like this could happen, or black play here or whatever. Because I've got all this thickness, white can push again in the corner. Now normally this, I was saying this wasn't good because white can block, black can block, but the point of this is it's generated a cut here, and also it means white's got more points in the corner and black's got fewer points and less eye space in the corner as well. So now if black blocks, there's a real danger that white might just go and cut here and stuff might die. So black didn't block, which meant white got to go here. So you can see that white's got slightly more of the corner here, and black's got slightly less eye space. So now that white's taken the eyes of this group in the corner, black's got to extend along the side. But even though he's extended, that's not totally connected, so I can play here, which is aiming at kind of this kind of thing. So for example, black can capture one stone, but white goes and captures the other one in a ladder. And if black goes and connects here, white's got this ladder. And obviously if black just connects, white connects, and the group above's quite weak or dead. Yes, you can go on top, and that would probably be a better move. And then I could choose between this, and then black probably goes here. And then black doesn't connect by playing there, does he? Because there's that, which then gets that, which is a bit annoying. I think playing on top's actually better than what he did. Probably white fixes here. Actually, maybe white cuts, I don't know. I think going on top's better. Anyway, black actually just ignored it to help this group, which meant I got to go and hurt the stone on the side. But you can kind of see here, by this R17 was an attacking invasion. It took away the point, and I'm attacking this group above. And by using the attack on that group, you can break the side and stick this big group down the middle. So black then made the group above live, but in exchange, I got this white stick just breaking down black's right-hand side. And then he sort of came out, and then he captured here to make this group totally safe. But in exchange, white, plonked this down the side. So this was all thanks to the R17 taking the base in the corner. Okay, so I think that's about the end of that game. So it had an example of the jumping to A using the hanging connection, and also how when you invade at 3-3, if you've got support on the outside, it can be an attack. And also we just had the Joseki down the bottom left at the beginning as well. GR9. You could. The thing is, I I did think about invading here, or another choice you could have would maybe be to invade here. Black, let's just say for now that black goes here. Maybe black pincers would be better actually, but let's just say black takes the corner, and then white goes here. Then white can, yeah, get a group in the right hand side, but maybe black plays something like, I don't know, maybe not that. Maybe black plays press like this or something. So white can live on the side, but black would get to reduce the centre somehow. And the other thing is black's got 15 points in this corner. So you could consider it, and I did think about it, but you make a yeah, the M14 cut, yeah, there is a cut at M14, yeah, and it's sort of quite what happens there, you know, it's not quite clear. White might be able to save the stones by, you know, connecting this sort of direction. Yeah, there's some stuff at M14. So yeah, you could invade here and you'd reduce the side, but white's trying to make the centre, so I kind of preferred to have this result. So, I mean, it might be better, I don't know. Because this didn't damage the side, and then if black plays like a safe move, rather than invading, I'd just play like this to try to, you know, push him down low, and then I can push here and then seal the middle, something like this. Because if I invade the right hand side, I'm going to damage my centre. So I'd quite like, I don't really necessarily, I don't want to kill this group runner thing. I just quite make him play low and submissively and safe. In exchange, then I can get a few useful moves in the centre like this in Sensei, and then I can try and build the centre, which makes me some points, and it also means the M14 cut just disappears as well. Just another example of this attacking when you've got this jump. This is a pro game. This is Lee Sedol versus Gu Li. So I quite like this move for white. So like the normal kind of thing in this position would be to do some kind of, you could do this kind of stuff, and then if black defends here, white would be happy to make an extension. But black can pincer here is quite powerful using Q16, and white can play something like this. But although the white group's sort of thick, it's also kind of not got two eyes and seems a bit like a weak wall, which is a bit annoying. So white kind of dodges to here. So the point is, if white's here white's making me eye of this approach and playing this block. So if black plays like this move or whatever, now white can block, and he's already got his extension from his wall, so he's a lot happier. So it's a nice flexible move this here. But black said, well, I'm not going to let you do that, so I'm going to play here, hurt the Q6 stone. So then white got the approach, and then white just went over to play on here because he's played the high move here, so he kind of needs this high move wants to come down to C10 to finish, because in this kind of opening position, once black's gone here, if white doesn't do anything, quite soon black can play here and it can attack these stones and be quite annoying. So white got Sensei to play C10. So now black, you know, the fixed solid move would be this, but black decided that was rather slow and small. He went here, which is a lot more powerful, trying to swallow up q6 on a large scale. And of course also aiming at the gap here or here with these stones. So white jumped, and you can kind of see this is making R7, this is looking forward to R17. So if black defends R17 by going here, for example, white might just play some big opening move here, or maybe this kind of move, or maybe this kind of move, or something around this area to stop black building the lower side. But black went here, and then white said, well, I was aiming at R17 and you didn't defend against it, so I'm going to play there. And then we can see here white played this Hano. I was thinking maybe white could play this push as well, because if black does this, then you could have this kind of sequence looking for this cut, this kind of stuff. But maybe black would play this one or something like that, which could make a rather complicated fight. So white does this. Black could compromise by going here, but this lets white connect and make this group on the right hand side safe, which is a bit soft. So black cut. So white came down here asking to connect. Black kept them cut. Notice black didn't play this one, he played this one, which takes a liberty and threatens to come in here. Now white pushed here, that means black extended, and then white came over here. So the things with this move is, notice white didn't play this, because white wants to keep T16 being sente to make, because that affects the life and death of the corner. So because T16 is white sente, this corner is alive, and taken away the eyes of the black group. So then black helps that group. White makes a little peek here at the shape point. If black doesn't answer, actually if that doesn't answer, I wasn't quite sure what white would do. Because if white does this, he can capture one stone. But it didn't seem to me that that was necessarily bigger than an approach. But maybe white has some clever, nasty business like here or something, I'm not sure. The black defended there. And then white got this move. So you can see that by taking the corner, white's trying to attack this group, and, you know, has got G17 to help develop the left corner. Black kept on building the lower side, and then white kept on attacking this top group. And then it played some stuff, and then it ran away. And yeah, then they went and did some other stuff. But to give away the end of the story, in the end, this big black group did die. I mean, there was a kind of a trade in that black, in exchange, kind of got some big group breaking through here or something, but it died, and that was kind of all thanks to R17 taking the base in the corner. Okay, I'll be back in a sec. Yeah, Black lost that game. Yeah. Time, 9:30. Almost done. Oh yeah, there's just one more example I wanted to show, if I can find it. Not that game, it looks like that. Not that. Not that. Oh, I had two things. Well, let's just do this one quickly. So what I said about this jump being not so normal, in this game it was played. This was really by Cho Hyun, whatever he's called. He liked to play this. This is his game. It's Black. So the point is, it kind of is using the two star points on the right hand side to make a big old big moyo. So the thing is, like, the old Joseki here was to connect here, but then white gets to come out here and break the side. So kind of the thing that Cho came up with, which made this opening a lot better, was playing this, which builds this big old moyo. Because, you know, white can go and cut through here or whatever, but then black gets to make his big moyo thing and is quite happy, so that's okay. So white split the side, and then black gets to make this thick connection, which is kind of saying, well, I'm either going to attack the lower group or I'm going to attack the group on the left. Yeah? Did you expect this one, maybe? No? Or this one? Well, yeah, kind of, the reason why the jumping out for black is not so common is because, kind of locally speaking, it probably is a bit better for white. R12. Oh, to attack the stone. Yeah, you could do that. But also, because basically, kind of, if white's kind of Honte move would have been something to help this group here, or here, or here, and seeing as white's gone and played a move to ruin your moyo, you can go and now bully the white group and make yourself strong. And then later on you can play R12, because either you're going to get something awesome over here. If white, you know, goes over here, then this group looks really quite dangerous now. It's going to have to live really small in Gote or something. And if it has to, for example, play this move, now you can play C3 much more easily. So, the kind of the flow would be to not, you can do stuff to R10 later, but first of all, thicken and strengthen yourself over here. So white held this group. So then black gets to, using the thickness of G5, can now attack those two stones on the left. White comes out, black helps his stone. White just tries to settle quickly, is aiming for kind of this sort of sequence, something like this. Black went here. There's a code for it. Can't really keep fighting the code. And black goes here. White defends. This move looks kind of slow, but it's quite important. Like, if you play something over here, white could get this peak, which would be quite annoying. So which, you know, weakens black and strengthens white. So this kind of keeps up the pressure on the white group to the left. You know, it's still not alive. If black plays at c3, you know, it's not got 100% eyes. But then white does get sente to help the R10 stone. So before, I said that playing at c17 just straight away after this is a bit unusual and strange. But in this position, it's a really powerful move. So the point is, black's got this super strong position over here. So again, it's playing the c17 to attack. Take the base from this white group. If you just played something like this, it would all be rather gentle and the white group would be safe. So black's trying to take the eyes in the corner to attack this group. And then white goes and cuts it off. And pushes. So here you can see that white plays this move rather than this one to make it so the corner has to spend a move to live. But it does mean these three stones didn't lose their liberties. Now here is a key point. If black just lived, white would get to play here, which makes him quite a lot stronger and black weaker, and it's all okay. If black can play here, white can kill the corner, but then there's a cut. So if white had this ladder, you know, black would be in a disaster. So the prerequisite for black to play this extension is that the ladder's not good for white, which it's not on this board. So that means white can't kill the corner yet, or black will cut. And basically, there could be some mess, but probably it's going to end up with white dying rather than black dying, because although the corner's dead, it's going to have more liberties than white. So, white defends the cut. But now this means that black can live in the corner, and this is slightly better than living this way, because it means that white didn't necessarily get b14 in sente so easily. So you can kind of see black's been quite greedy here, because he's lived in the corner, and he's made these stones not be dead. Normally the kind of deal is you can take the corner, but your stone on the outside ends up being hurt. But here, because of the ladder, he got to make three stones have quite a lot of liberties, and he kind of got both sides. So then white goes here, black helps his stones, develops the top, and then white goes here to make a base. And then black came back over here to pressure that group and develop that corner. So, any questions on that? B15 instead of B16. There's what is it? So if you play this, then yeah, E19 is sente for a weird ko, so it means you're not alive. So you play this one because this one, that's A is sente, but B is not sente. So that means this group should be alive. So yeah, whether you make the L+2 or the J+1, one of the descents is sente and one of them is not. So yeah, the ko, so yeah, this would be a mistake actually, because there's some funny ko that goes something like, what is it, this? Something like and if that does that, that seems to be a ko. So yeah, you could normally avoid ko by going like that, but here white can go here, and that's self-Atari thanks to the Liberty at E19. So yeah, without E19, black could play this way just to live, but because of E19, there's some funny co-business. So yeah, you should live here. But then that means this is Sente. In fact, this game was kind of funny. So this game here was a pro game where I think black was... Actually, no, black was Liu Chang-ho in this game, and black won this game. And I played the same game against a bot, or a sideboard like a bot plus a human. I was white, and seeing as black lost the game, seeing as black won the pro game, I couldn't just keep on copying white because then I'd lose. So I had to play something different. So I played here rather than helping my group, which was quite dangerous. But you know, in the pro game, black got this, white took this corner. And if I just sort of fast forward a bunch of moves, you can kind of see the white group on the right hand side is very small. White did get this top right hand corner, but black's got this big side over here, and black won this game by 5 points or something. So I decided that defending at C12, while it might be the proper move, was a bit we're kind of, you know, black's got the corner, black's got K17 and these stones aren't dead. In order for me to spend Gosei there is just a bit too humiliating. So I Tanukid and dared black to try to kill me. Which black actually did in a rather nice way. So black played this, which was a rather funky move, trying to attack my group over there, so I defended it by taking the corner. And then he jumped here, which was quite nice. If I defend my group now, black blocking here looks rather nice to make quite a lot of top side. So I took the corner. So here you can see an example of taking the corner rather than double approaching. And rather than going here, that question that Billy asked, white would probably do this and would be quite happy to live in the top side. So black blocks here to keep the top. And then he went like, I expected black to go here, and then white probably goes here. And then basically black gets the top, but white gets the right side. But black then attacked by playing here, which was rather strong, and it was quite hard not to die. So kind of this move and this move were really quite nice. Anyway, that white group did actually live just, but like this was against one of the Monte Carlo bots, and I think these kind of central attacking moves are the moves that Monte Carlo bots are really good at. I was really impressed with those two moves, and also this one as well, which kind of prepared the attack. Because I really wanted to play here, because that's just a really super big point that I reckon black would probably kill me if I did that. So black lived in the corner, but I did get these two moves in Sente, which was kind of useful to make an eye. And then I made an eye, but then black now got Sente, so he surrounded me in Sente. I lived with just 2 points eventually. And then black came back to this, and then just went tally ho, keep on pushing, like not defend, no, keep on pushing, fight, really push really hard. Just play some stuff, and then wow, look at that top side that just appeared out of nowhere. That was really quite nice for black. So on the flip side, if you compare it to the pro game, white's got like a bunch of points in this area, and also not just points. It means that in the pro game, this group ended up being a weak group and having to struggle around, whereas in my game it ended up being comfortable and made quite a lot of points itself as well. Okay. See that. See that. Oh, and just one little quicker thing to finish. This one. Got that same old Joseki again. Play some this Joseki. Black pushes here was a bit weird, but don't mind. So the key point I wanted to talk about in this one was in this position at the top right. We just had this little exchange at the bottom, which might not be great, but never mind. So if white just played like here, black could get a nice bunch of stuff on the top. White gets a nice thing on the right, but it seems like black's probably got a bit more of a better deal. So white wants to play a bit more greedy here, a bit like that previous game we saw where I was sort of the person getting invaded. In this position I was white, so I wanted to get the top. So again, if black does this kind of thing, the K17 stone is trying to make territory at the top. So if black does this, this is a good position for white to play this choice for two reasons. One, K17 becomes bad, but the other one is that white has a solid group here, so black can't do so much on the right hand side by capturing R14. Now it's not actually too bad. I mean, black can play here, and although R9 stuff's a solid group, R11 does still mean you can do some evil things to it later. So it's not the end of the world, but it makes K17 look a bit sort of silly. So in this kind of position, it's a good choice for black to block here, keep sensei, keep the points at the top, and then he uses sensei to make this extension, make some more points. White defended the corner, and then black went and played some move. And then I think, yeah, so then I played this. So you can kind of see eventually I actually ended up getting this point and making the right side territory as well, but I've got the corner as well, which is pretty big, and I've got the, you know, I've got some endgame here left for later. Okay, and I think that's the end of my lecture. Has anyone's got any questions? Hmm.